Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and call the regular city council meeting to order and determine if a quorum is present. We're all here. We have a quorum. We have a special guest with us, Miss Pastor Ronnie Morgan, that's going to lead us in our invocation. Pastor.
Let's pray. Father, I just thank you for the great city that we live in. I thank you for the many wonderful employees of the city. I thank you for the staff, and I thank you for all the wonderful volunteers and for our council. Lord, I pray for blessings over their life. I pray that you give them wisdom and guidance. Lord, help us to be a light in our city and help the city to continue to thrive in many, many ways. In your precious holy name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor, and for everything that you and your congregation do for the city of Castle Hills.
Thank you, Pastor.
Okay, next up we have Pledge of Allegiance. Lieutenant Davila, will you lead us? First up, we have citizen comments, and we have Ms. N. Espinoza. You'll have 3 minutes, and if you can just tell us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Nina Espinoza. I live at 213 North Crest, and we're here to voice our concerns about the room rental business that's operating off of 100 North Crest. I wanted to thank the city manager and the mayor for meeting with us, residents a few weeks ago regarding our concerns. We're dealing daily with increased traffic because our streets are used as a quick access to Loop 410 and increase in transient activity. And so this business is a great concern for the residents because it compounds these issues. We're requesting current status on recent attempts to contact and obtain information regarding what kind of business is being operated there and basically, what are their plans for the property. Thank you again for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. And we can't respond to you right now, but the city manager will get back with you more information. Okay, next up we have Miss Lizette Davis. Your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak. My name is Lizette Davis, 212 Halbart here in Castle Hills. I wanted to say especially thank you to Mayor Trevino and Ryan, City Councilman Ryan as well, for meeting with us and for your constant support, and for our Castle Hills Police. We've grew up in the neighborhood for 4 years, I think, that we've been in the neighborhood. And so Castle Hills Police are the best, absolutely the best. Thank you all for everything that you all have done. Quick concerns, and again, kind of growing up in the neighborhood, the concern is about the same 100 North Crest Drive. And what we see online would be it's renting for 135, I think it is, a week. And so we're worried that this is perhaps halfway house, perhaps a hotel motel type situation. The main concerns, I think, and especially like my mom, is now single, they're widowed at 88 years old. So it concerns me deeply because there is the alleyway behind North Crest, or Halbart, I'm sorry. So when we've seen a lot of transients, there's a lot of men that are there, maybe 25 to 35 years old. They all have backpacks, typically, mainly men. There's a lot of different men. So they're kind of coming in and out with a weekly rental. And the neighbor across the street did see somebody one time that looked like he was on drugs, coming from the trees right there. And she has a video. So we're just deeply concerned about the influx, of course, that we've seen in San Antonio in general, drugs and gangs and homelessness. So that's mainly it. We're worried about what could be happening there. And if someone's on drugs, or if they case the neighborhood, it's a nice neighborhood. So we just worry about what's coming in and out of the neighborhood. I just wanted to share our concerns with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Okay, I think that's all we have signed up to speak, and so we'll go on to the consent agenda. Mr. May?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. May. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Daines. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Okay, new business. We have a public hearing on a request from UNDO for a SUP to allow the continued use of a property at 2211 Northwest Military Highway, Suite 126, Castle Hills, Texas 78213. Legally described as Lot 22, City Block 219, re-subdivision of a portion of Slim subdivision, City of Castle Hills, Bear County, Texas, according to plat thereof, recorded in volume 9516, page 161, deed and plat records of Bear County, Texas, to perform permanent makeup services. It is Tuesday, November 12th at 6:36 p.m., and we're going to open the public hearing. If there is nobody signed up to speak, we will close the public hearing at 6:37 p.m. And we'll proceed to item 6.2, discussion and possible action on ordinance number 2024-11-12 on a request from UNDO for a SUP to allow the continued use of the property at 2211 Northwest Military Highway, Suite 126, Castle Hills, Texas 78213, legally described as Lot 22, City Block 219, a re-subdivision of a portion of Slim subdivision, City of Castle Hills, Bear County, Texas, according to plat thereof recorded in volume 9516, page 161, deed and plat records of Bear County, Texas, to perform permanent makeup services. Mr. Rapley.
Mayor and Council, this item was in front of the zoning commission last Wednesday night, and the zoning commission approved it 3-0.
Thank you, Mr. Rapley. And I know we have the applicant here to speak as well. If you'd
Yes.
like to, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to. This is your call.
Good evening. My name is Angel, the owner of Fabulous Spa and Lounge on 2211 Northwest Military, 126 Castle Hill 78213. I'm here to request the SUP for its permanent makeup service. It's not only help with raising our sales, but help with the city income. And it's not only help with improve the beauty, the look for lady and gentlemen, but it's helped with the confidence. So I already said last week, I help a cancer patient that she lost all her browns, and I helped with that, and she was so happy. And I worked at somewhere before. Our reputation is very, very good. So I believe that we're gonna do a good job. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Council, we've seen a number of these. I think this one's probably the same as all. Mr. May?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council adopt ordinance number 2024-11-12 as stated, allowing the SUP for 2211 Northwest Military number 126.
Thank you, Mr. May. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Joyce. Any comments, questions? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you so much for coming. Everything's good to go. Next up, we have discussion and possible action on resolution 2024-11-12. Resolution of the City of Castle Hills, Texas, adopting covered applications and prohibited technology policy. Mr. Rapley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to defer this one to Mr. Schnall to explain the rationale for moving forward with this policy for the City of Castle Hills.
And the rationale for this policy is that the legislature makes us do it. That is the executive summary. But in the last legislative session, the legislature adopted a Senate bill, Senate Bill 1893. That Senate bill created or incorporated into state law a new Chapter 620 of the Texas Government Code. And Chapter 620 of the Texas Government Code requires all Texas municipalities to adopt a policy prohibiting the installation or use of certain technology applications on government-owned devices. The statute defines the applications to specifically include TikTok, and then anything else that the governor decides would be a covered application. The action that the council is being asked to act on tonight is a result of the fact that the statute required the Department of Information Technology and I'm trying to find the other department that was involved here, but two state agencies, the Department of Public Safety and the Department of Information Resources, were required to provide a form of policy for municipalities to adopt. And the municipalities had to adopt a policy based on that form within 60 days. Day 60 is November 20. So we bring this to the council for action. The resolution number in the packet appears to be incorrect, but the agenda is correct. The resolution would be 2024-11-12-A. Is that right, Nicole? On the agenda? Okay. Oh, okay. So this is 2024-11-12. And it again tracks the language that we would be asking the council to adopt. And I was looking at a resolution from another city, so I suspect that the one in your packet actually has the correct resolution number, and I'm about to see that for sure. Yes, it does. And so, it's my recommendation that the council adopt this resolution. We have to review it on a 2-year basis. And obviously, if the governor does designate other technology applications to be, quote, covered applications, close quote, then we will bring back an amendment to stay in line with the requirements of Chapter 620 of the Texas Government Code.
Thank you, Mr. Schnall. Council, Mr. Joyce.
Mayor, I move that we adopt Resolution 2024-11-12 as stated in item 6.3 and explained by Mr. Schnall.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce and Mr. May. Council, any comments, questions?
I'd just like to point out that we need to make a revision to the second to last paragraph. It has the city council of the city of Selma, Texas, rather than Castle Hills. And believe me, as a transactional attorney, I know copy paste is our worst enemy, so I could totally understand.
Bonus points for Mr. Smith for catching that. I'm assuming that you gentlemen are okay with that revision? Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you, Mr. Schnall.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a discussion of possible action on a resolution 2024-11-12-B, authorizing an application for the grant from the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority Grant Program, designating Assistant Chief of Police Sheila Vitaco to take action necessary in regard to such application and ratifying action in regard to such application. Mr. Rapley.
Mayor and council, this is a grant that Assistant Chief Fataco is going after. I believe today is the deadline. She had already filed. We just have to send the resolution for approval. This is in regards to a grant with the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. So this will allow us to encumber the cost for the cameras that we have, the license plate readers. This will allow for us to pay for 12 at a matching 80-20. So if we were awarded this grant, it only costs the city $7,000 a year to have these 12 cameras throughout Castle Hills. I do know some other cities, most recently City of Commerce was just awarded this grant. And so she's very optimistic about us being awarded, and we'll probably find out in the next 6 weeks, I believe. And at that point, we'll be able to take the next steps to install additional cameras if that's council's wish at that point. But we will have the funding if awarded the grant. So.
Thank you, Mr. Rapley. Council, Mr. May.
And Assistant Chief Fataco is on medical still, so she wanted to be able discuss this. Lieutenant Davila is here in case you have any technical questions.
Good evening. Any questions that y'all have? I'm sure you guys have been a little bit familiar with the license plate readers. The way we have it set up right now, it's checking for protective orders, sex offenders, stolen plates, stolen vehicles, supervised release, somebody just gets released from prison and they're under supervision. They have to register their vehicle, so it will also account for that. Violent people, obviously warrants, and missing children. The way it's set up right now, we just loaded our warrants up. So if you guys remember last time we had the LPR, the mobile one in the patrol unit, we had great success in it. I mean, it paid itself in about 2 weeks. We're kind of hoping that once these get uploaded, the officer will be mobile. They'll have it on their MDTs or their computers in their car. They'll log into the system. The car drives by, it's going to alert them, and they can make the traffic stop at that time. Since October 14th, we've had a total of 56,218 vehicles that have been recorded on there. I know some people are a little concerned about their privacy. It's not recording anything like that. It's recording if we need to look for a certain thing. San Antonio had a stolen motorcycle 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago. One of our patrolmen accidentally, or luckily, ran into it while they were trying to tie it down to the pickup truck. They took off on them, they fled. It was a short pursuit, but the license plate reader did catch the license plate to that vehicle. And that ended up being kind of a triple crime thing. The plates were stolen, but San Antonio was looking for that vehicle because it was stolen from another location and the motorcycle. So with our information, they were able to push a couple warrants out and hopefully make an arrest. I didn't figure out whether they actually arrested somebody, but they went a little bit further on it.
So in this case, Mayor and Council, I know that was part of what we wanted to talk about the next agenda item. So if you want to take action on the grant, we'll keep Lieutenant Davila up there for further questions on the next agenda item, and I'll jump in as well. So, but let's go ahead and finish the grant request.
Perfect. And Mr. May?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council adopt resolution number 2024-11-12-B.
Thank you, Mr. May. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Haley. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Lieutenant Davila. Next up, we have discussion and possible action on the flock safety cameras. Mr. Rapley.
Okay, Mayor and Council, obviously, part of that was Lieutenant Davila to give you sort of the effectiveness of the LPR readers to date. The demo ends, I think, on November 27th or 28th. The 60 days is up. So at that point, the city will be paying for them. So I'm open to council's suggestions or options at this point. I think we're going to need a little more time to see the effectiveness. That's one example that's helped not only San Antonio, but would probably be beneficial to other agencies in the surrounding area. And so I think tied to that grant as well, my suggestion would be to keep this going for about another 3 months, see if we get the grant, get some more time to see the effectiveness of these cameras. And then that way we'll be able to purchase 6 more with the grant, which will be outfitted, my understanding, on the north side of Castle Hills. The current 6 are on the south side. You have those locations. And so that would be the long-term plan for these cameras, both funding and then where they would be placed. And then, of course, hopefully 6 months to a year, it's led to a lot other cases, whether that's Castle Hills PD or surrounding agencies. So
Thank you, Mr. Rapley.
I just promised Mayor to bring this back to y'all to discuss. And like I said, I know Assistant Chief Fataco wanted to discuss this as well. Go ahead, Lieutenant, if you have any other comments about it.
I think the grant is pretty much, I don't want to say 100% on it, but they extended the grant period for application due to not too many agencies applying for it. So us climbing on board, we should have a pretty good chance of getting it.
Ms. Daines.
Do you know how quickly they're supposed to respond back on this once it's submitted, the grant?
I do not, ma'am. I know Chief Fataco told me it would be about 2 to 3 weeks, at
Okay.
the
Oh,
most 6 weeks.
That's pretty quick. Okay.
So we're hoping that it'll be fast.
Okay, I have a clarification question that's a little weird, but I'm sorry, you said there was like a triple thing with the motorcycle. You
Yeah,
said
'cause there
that
was- yeah, there was
the
three.
plate, so they used stolen plates on a stolen car?
Yes.
They're really, that's not
Uh,
very smart.
Believe it or not, bad guys watch TV too. They're pretty smart. So a lot of them are leaving their phones at home, so
Mm-hmm.
they can't be tracked. Well, these license plate readers will put them at a certain place at
Yeah.
a certain time.
Interesting. Okay, well, I mean, I love the idea of free money and it sounds like it's already showing valuable promise. And just from my standpoint, I agree with Mr. Rapoli that maybe we try this for another 90 days. We get some more data and then we proceed from there. Thank you.
Mr. Joyce?
Thank you, Mayor. Lieutenant, I was just, I didn't quite catch you. You were talking about both mobile devices and then the pole mounted devices.
At one time, we had a license plate reader that was in one particular vehicle.
It was
Just
mounted on,
one.
mounted on the hood.
Right. It was
The
on the
trunk.
hood and on the roof of the vehicle.
Okay, but that's not the case anymore?
No, that vehicle, that system was, we had a disaster with it. It ended up catching fire, damaged the vehicle a little bit, but when it was working, it actually paid its dividends. I mean, we
Okay.
were making arrests left and right.
I see. So are we to understand that you really don't have a lot of data on the pole mounted ones at this point?
Only the numbers that the numbers that have passed through it, it was 56,100 something since October 14th. But other than that, we've only had 2 stolen vehicles that have gone through it, and 2 stolen plates and then 1 protection order. And that's been since October 14th.
Okay, yeah, has there been any success with stolen cars or stolen catalytic converters? The way it's written up in the P, have you had any success with those things?
Luckily, so far, we haven't had any more catalytic converters. We've had 1 auto theft, but it was on the 901 side.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. May?
I'm curious to know whether this new system is a response to the disfavor of geofencing, where entities, investigators go after documents from Google that would pinpoint cell locations. Is this a response? Is this the response?
I really can't tell you if it is or not. I mean, it sounds like it might be influenced a little bit by it. But like I said, everybody knows that if you have a phone on, it's gonna track you, no matter, unless you put it on airplane mode. So having these license plate readers out there that could potentially catch a vehicle that was involved in a serious crime or just any crime, I think that would be beneficial for us.
Well, I only bring it up because the Fifth Circuit recently found that it was unconstitutional to do geofencing and expect large companies, telephone carriers to fork over massive amounts of information on individuals. This system is not like that at all.
No, it's for our use only. Other agencies that get on board can have access to our system in case they're looking for somebody. For example, if they commit a crime in Chavano Park, they very well may come through here. That would put that car in, close to the vicinity and hopefully help with the prosecution.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you for speaking tonight, Lieutenant. I just wanted to ask, did you have any false positives? Did you pull anybody over who
Actually,
it tagged them, but they weren't the person you were looking for?
with this system, it's pretty spot on. With the mobile system, we did have a lot of false readings. I mean, a U-Haul truck would go by and it would read the U-Haul emblem on the side of the board, and it would be stolen vehicle. It happens, but so far we haven't had any on this.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Joyce?
Mayor, Lieutenant, one more time, please. I've heard from some of my constituents concerns about privacy. Is there in your mind any need to be concerned about privacy? I mean, hackers are unbelievable these days. I mean, every bank that I have anything to do with has sent me something that's, sorry, your data has been compromised. And-
Really, the information that's on it, it's through the TCIC and NCIC. So if they were to have access to that, I'd be pretty surprised. I mean, they have that pretty locked down pretty good. Whether they can break into this system and just read license plates, they wouldn't have any information attached to it.
Okay.
So when it reads a license plate, if it's wanted for example, a murder, it's not going to give out any information on that vehicle. We have to run it on our TCIC system here with dispatch or on our computer app in our
Okay.
cars.
Okay, so it's really not in your mind increasing privacy concerns at all?
not, I mean, if you drive your vehicle every day, I mean, everywhere you drive, people can see it. That's pretty much what this camera does. It's not gonna give you your name or your address. It's just that car was there at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant, how many additional cameras are we talking about? I thought I heard 18, then I also heard 12.
It should be 12, sir.
It's 12? Okay.
Yeah, 6 would be outfitted in the north side if we were awarded the grant.
Is there a cap on, I didn't see the grant itself, but is it only additional 6 or could we potentially add more if this system proves to do something amazing with the next?
I really want to be able to answer that. I know the 12 are, that we're talking about strategically place them in the city, especially on the 902 side. It's where most traffic goes through, especially if it's coming through our city.
Right. Mr.
I'll
Apple?
have to follow up with Assistant Chief Fatako to see if that can be expanded. But right now, I mean, the request is for covering 12 cameras, so it doesn't mean we can't reapply in the future for further cameras based on allocation of dollars available.
Assuming it's open, right? So you said something, and I just want to clarify for anybody that might be listening and for the record. The cameras that we're going to install, y'all are looking at history and making sure that we're putting them in the places where they'd be best served.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought so, but just so we can get that on the record.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, council, do we have a motion? Ms. Daines, you look like you're,
Yes, I move that we, let's see. Oh, I don't know. Approve the installation of the flock safety cameras, the additional 6 flock safety cameras. As discussed by Lieutenant Davila, sorry.
perfect. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. May. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Sure.
Okay, next up, we have discussion of possible action on awarding a contract for
There's no
road.
cap on the cameras according to Assistant Chief Fatako.
There's no cap.
No cap.
Yeah, well, let's keep our options open. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Rapley. Discussion of possible action on awarding a contract for roadway and drainage improvements to Carrollwood and North Manton. This has been long awaited. Carrollwood has been probably one of the most problematic flooding streets in the city of Castle Hills for 10, 15, 20 years. And I think that the solution that we have at the table, the collaboration between City of San Antonio, Bexar County, CPS, SAWS, and the San Antonio River Authority is probably one of the biggest projects that we've done with the most partners that we've ever involved. And I'm excited that hopefully tonight we're gonna change some history for the positive here in Castle Hills. Mr. Rapley?
Yes, Mayor and Council, as the mayor said, this is a collaboration among not only us, but other entities, and we're appreciative they're able to provide us funding for this project. There was 5 bids for this project, and the recommendation by Ardura was to award the bid to D Plata at $3,297,283. I can tell you, Brian Spina is here from Ardura. If you have any technical questions, I know that the applicant was, not applicant, but the bidder was vetted out by our engineers, both within construction line items, provided a schedule, and they are up for the challenge at their bid that they have responded with. So at that point, they're ready to award the bid to D Plata at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Rapley. Mr. Joyce?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question for the engineer, if they wouldn't mind coming forward. Thank you.
And just to give you a background, I got this from Byron, but they had estimated about $4.6 million for the total project. Now that encompasses North Manton as well, drainage street. And so the total bid is 3.2 million, correct, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is $1 million less than the nearest high bidder.
Yeah,
right?
900,000, yep.
And just to make sure you guys are comfortable with that $1 million difference.
Yeah, we had a meeting with D Plata just to make sure and confirm that they could actually do the work and that they feel comfortable with their bid, because they did They were significantly below the second bidder. They confirmed that they can do the work, that they will do the work within the days allotted for the contract. And they feel comfortable that they'll be able to get it done for what they promised, so.
Okay. And looking through the information that Joel provided us, thank you for that. It was a very, very helpful package. One of the pieces of information was comments from previous clients. And one of those clients was the city of San Antonio, as documented by the city engineer. And there were 3 projects that they were asked about, and 2 of the 3, they got very good recommendations. But the third one, they described it as a very poor performance by Plata. Are you guys nevertheless comfortable that, this is the right group for us?
Yeah, I mean, DePlata has done good work. That one that did provide a poor recommendation did note that they did reconstruct and followed through with reconstructing all the stuff that they did have issues with. There was no unforeseen change orders or any major issues. I mean, it was just more of coordination with the contractor. And we've had the second bidder, Easy Bell, we've had similar stuff with them in the past, where sometimes you have really good projects and sometimes you get ones that are little, where you have troubles with them throughout. But overall, DePlata does get the work done and they can accomplish the work. So we cannot find any reason that we cannot recommend them.
Okay.
They are responsible, they can complete the work, and they have noted that they can do it within the time frame that we provided and the cost that they bid.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. May.
I know I'm going to get the question and I don't know the answer. Where is the water going to go?
Where's the water gonna go?
Where's it going to go after the project is completed?
Currently the water comes down and then goes across Lock Hill Soma from the city of San Antonio empty property that's on the city of San Antonio side. And then it goes down Carrollwood currently, and then it enters the storm drain system that's currently runs up to Banyan and Carrollwood. That was constructed in previous projects, which DePlata did do the second phase of that Banyan project. Then runs down Banyan out towards Glen Tower and then outfalls near Military. So basically it will be this project and extends that storm drain up Carrollwood, installs a few inlets along the 3 inlets along each side of the roadway just to pick up additional flow. And then we do have a culvert, entrance on the city of San Antonio property, which we will dig down and kind of create a more channelized section to try and capture as much water as possible and fit it within the storm drain before it goes on to Carrollwood. This should reduce the flow down Carrollwood significantly from about, I think it was 500 CFS to 300 or to 200 CFS. It captures approximately 300 cubic feet per second of water for additional on the storm drain system. So it should significantly reduce the water going down Carrollwood.
So just so I get a vision of this, if I were to put a little tugboat on the other side of Lock Hill Selma, where's it going to ultimately end up? Where's that water going?
It ultimately ends up over Military and Glen Tower, I believe is outfall.
It'll end up at behind the Wedgewood. It goes down that channel, which is tied into the city of San Antonio's Barbara Drive drainage project over there at McCullough by the quarry. And then it kind of goes into the quarry basin back there.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But the idea is that the water, and this is why San Antonio contributed, is because it's going to go underneath Lock Hill. Instead of over Lock Hill, it's going to go underneath, tie into the channels all the way down to the outfall now. So this will complete phase 1 through 3.
Can you just for the record clarify how many days the project is expected to take?
I believe it was 360 days. It's almost a year.
Perfect. And Mr. Joyce, I appreciate you bringing that up. We did have a conversation about the project that received less than satisfactory marks. And I had asked that the engineers specifically pay attention to what the issue was. Because the contractors typically have their trends, and so they could be ahead of that going into this project as well. And I can say that as a contractor myself.
And remember, these total days, that's also North Manton too. So we're talking North Manton in conjunction with Carrollwood, correct?
Yeah, 360 days includes the saws, water and sewer adjustments, and the Carrollwood work and the North Manton work.
Perfect. Council, anybody want to make a historic motion?
Could I just say, before you do that, just in coordination, we're gonna have a Here We Come meeting with residents among North Manton and Carrollwood. We've put Councilmember Smith in charge of that one, his street. So we're gonna send out notices to everyone on those streets to have a meeting in the next few weeks to let them know the coordination timeframe, because it will be a long project, so.
Where do you do that? Here we come meeting, do you come here and you throw it all?
Yes, we did that the first phase of Banyan, because that impacted multiple streets, which Glen Tower, Garden View. So we had a pretty
It was a pretty full room.
pretty full room. I mean, couple streets of why aren't you doing my street? And we say, we'll get to your street, being Glen Tower being done. So but that's the goal, to sort of educate, inform, and DPLAT has been made aware of. That's the process we're going to follow as well.
Perfect. Mr. Joyce, you were onto something?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to move that we award the contract for roadway and drainage improvements for Carrollwood and North Manton to D Plata as previously described.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Daines. Any further comments, questions? And we'll get construction signs too?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Let the record show that Mr. Smith abstained. Thank you so much for being here with us and for all your hard work. Okay, next up, we have discussion and possible action on the City of Castle Hills Capital Improvement Plan. Mr. Rapley.
Yes, we've already determined where one of the construction signs will be on North Manton in front of Mr. Schnall's property. So
You're gonna have to contend with Mrs. Schnall about that.
I know. I don't worry about Mr. Schnall. Just kidding, Schnall. Okay, Mayor and Council, what I wanted to briefly do is go through some slides to illustrate the years of our CIP from inception to now. If you recall, we had it adopted in 2018, November, 6 years ago to this date almost. We've had it updated once already, and this is a second time. And as a result, each time we update it, we look at what's been completed and what we have left to do. And so I want to just kind of briefly go through this real quick. So just so you know, the purpose of the CIP is to provide a 5-year street-only improvement plan based on existing condition information provided by the city. Streets are analyzed, assessed, pavement condition is given to each street. The PCI rating serves as the basis for pavement related decisions and what allows us as a city to build an annual pavement maintenance and capital improvement projects plan. The CIP utilizes the information to develop the matrix, and then of course the recommendation for what is maintenance and rehabilitation of city streets. CIP includes inventory evaluation, maintenance, CIP recommendation for approximately 27 miles of asphalt roadway. So in 2018, that's when we approved the first CIP. I don't think anybody here was on council. Nope. Well, nope. Sorry.
I don't know when in 18.
It was in November of 2018.
I was departed.
Yeah, so, sorry. The CIP, again, detailed the need in November of 18, it detailed the need to address over $10 million in reconstruction, which at the time consisted of 49% of the streets fell within this category. And in 2018 indicated that only 22% of the streets were in good condition. So in the corner there, you can see the report in 18. This is an excerpt from it there that showed that 23% were in poor and only 22% were in good from that standpoint. And then the map there, that's the 2020, because obviously before any work was done, we didn't really have an assessment map to show. But as a result of 2020, which is the map there, we had done some maintenance work, and then we had completed the Antler roadway project at the time. Moving on to 22, when we had the CIP updated, again, you can see the difference there just in the box alone. In 22, this had the first phase of street reconstruction had been completed, 12 streets at a cost of $3 million funded through the 2020 series for certificates of obligation. And then I think we conducted anywhere, I think it was $300,000 to $400,000 by that time in street maintenance related to it. So obviously you could see between the 2020 and this is the 2022, you could see a big difference in the amount of green on there alone from that standpoint. Again, looking at the 22, the poor was only 9% versus in 2018 when it was 23%. And then of course, 22% in good. Now that number was 63% in 2022. Here, at your dais, you have an enlarged copy of what the current assessment looks. So that's a lot of green. So as a result of the work completed, as a result of the work completed in 2024, phase 3 street improvements, 12 streets at a cost of $3 million funded through the 2023 series. So that's a combination of 26 reconstructed streets. And then of course, within that 2 years from 22 to 24, we spent about $200,000 in maintenance. So this illustration here shows completed phase 1 through 3 of all street reconstruction. And that's what we currently sit right now. Obviously, it's still in red, North Manton and Carrollwood, but obviously that will change. After that is done, it'll take care of all reconstructed residential streets. The only portion we have left is West Avenue for that area. So a lot more green. This has been put together by the way, I have Jonathan Califer. Sorry, Jonathan. He worked on this report, so I have to commend him on this report. So the document in the back there, he worked a lot of hours on it. So I'm very appreciative of his work on it. As you can see, this is the summary there that changes the complexion of the good streets, that 85% are classified as satisfactory or good. And this will only increase again for North Manton and Carrollwood. When the CIP was first established, we only had 22% of our streets in good condition. The CIP also revealed that 50% of the streets in Castle Hills were in that reconstruction category. So remember that 48.2% number. Now that is 3.2% in just 6 years. So here real quick, I wanted to kind of go through this. I put there 2018 and 2024 so you can see, and I'll just kind of go through this. Each street segment received an assigned maintenance or repair method for the evaluation of the condition index score. These costs through the methods of the CIP established the maintenance plan and capital budgets for city streets. Below is a table of the estimate costs associated with recommended rehab solutions. So that recommended rehab solutions is on the 24 side. But I just put 2018 there so you can see what that need was in 2018, being $24,899,850, just down to $9,639,831.75. And then corner there again, that's the comparison. We started tackling $24 million in 18. By 2022, we got it down to 14 million and change, and now just down to 9 million and change. represents over 15 million in work completed through multiple street phase projects, reconstruction, 9 million, including the Antler roadway project in 2019, over 600,000 on street maintenance funds alone for maintenance and rehab of the streets. This is what is approved. We went through this a few times during the adoption process for the budget, but this is now adopted in our budget for this year for maintenance and then mill and overlay. Because if you recall, we have to start tackling the mill and overlay sections. We've taken care of the reconstruction category. We need to take care of the mill and overlay. So Castle Hills, from this point, 10 to 20 years from now, is just doing maintenance if they follow the plan. So Mr. Harada will be here to make sure that happens. So I'm just kidding, Rick. I hear it from Rick because Rick has seen how these streets have looked over the years. So I look to him to say, what do you think, Rick? Because 30 years he's seen almost everything on these streets, and he's told me personally how happy a lot of this infrastructure looks now. So again, this talks about the micro surfacing. We're going to do about 327,000. And then of course the mill and overlay, 324,000. If you recall, we've already started the design work. So we'll hope to go out for bid for that in the next month or two as well. Right, guys? That's right. And then real quick, I just wanted to say, thank you, Mayor and Council, for your leadership to follow this CIP. Find the funding. This updated CIP is a reflection of the teamwork demonstrated to improve the city's infrastructure long-term. So I asked every 3 years that this be updated, and this is time to be updated again. So we can reflect on the work 3 years from now, and then a future council can approve it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rapley. Council,
Open to questions. Sorry.
comments, questions? Mr. Joyce?
Thank you, Mayor. Great job, Mr. Rapley. Thank you very much. Appreciate all this great information, and to Jonathan as well. This is really very helpful. I guess my question is not so much about the plan. The plan seems very solid, and you guys have done a great job getting our streets fixed. But looking at the 2024 capital cost, I'm just curious about where the money's going to come from. For example, the full depth reconstruction, typically we've taken that from the certificates of obligation, about 2.5 million. Is that?
Are you referring to the previous?
I'm referring to 2024.
Under 25 here?
No, one more back.
Oh, okay. So I think the full depth reconstruction there, that is West Avenue, I recall, correct? That's a section, the entire section from, I can't remember where it is. I had the map in here, but I took it out. Yeah. So all 4 lanes need to be reconstructed.
Yeah.
Almost totaling 3.2 million. I think that covers all the reconstruction. I think there was one street, Biltmore right there. It's mainly commercial right there that may need some reconstructive work, but at that time, that's what that represents there, West Avenue.
Okay, good deal.
Which again will require future CO funding if necessary.
Okay, are we out of CO money right now?
Don't know just yet because we got to finish Carrollwood and North Manton.
Okay.
So that might be when we're done. We'll be able to kind of evaluate what is left in there from that standpoint. If it holds the true that, the contractor that was awarded the bid can do that work as what they say, then that'll be beneficial to the city and the street CO fund, where that money would be coming out of.
Okay, so at this point in time, we're not 100% sure where that full depth reconstruction money's going to come from.
Not
CO.
entirely. So, but we know at the 3 million, I think it's a 3.9 for the mill and overlay. So we know we're going to have to start addressing the mill and overlay on those streets that have been identified for those. So
Yeah.
which you could take that out of street maintenance fund. Obviously.
What happened with West Avenue? Isn't that one of our newer streets?
Um,
I mean, that's probably not a fair question for you. That happened long before you got here, but my recollection, and y'all help me with this, is wasn't that redone 10 years ago or 12 years ago? 99. Okay.
Feels like 10 years ago.
I'm going with the archive system.
Okay. Thank you, Vic.
Now, if you recall, we did some improvements along certain sections because they
Yeah.
did get bad.
Right.
But if I recall, Rick, that they had to go pretty deep on some of those sections. So it's a full depth. I mean, we're talking. Do you remember? It's not like your basic residential street, right? We got to go further down. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's something we're gonna have to tackle and or find the funding to address if we want to complete that entire street. So, but I guess 1999 is when we took it over. So.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
Mr. May.
Mr. Rapley, I don't think I was here in 1999 with the capital improvement on West, or conscious of it. When we did a transaction, did that mean that we owned all of it? It wasn't TxDOT or any other entity's responsibility. It was solely ours.
Yeah, I mean, it's transitioned to us. So in 99, I was about to start grad school and I would even said not to take it over.
But it is a major artery in the metro area. Isn't there some
Well, we've
possibility?
talked about looking at maybe applying to MPO dollars or some outlet like that. But typically in that sense, they want to see if we can incorporate bike trails, my understanding. There is a grant by TxDOT that Byron had sent. He's familiar with that we may be able to apply for other dollars associated with it. So we may not have to solely come up with it at this time. So maybe again, we can find those resources, but I'm not sure about incorporating a bike path along that road particularly. So.
It's a pretty busy.
At least I wouldn't ride my bike.
Yeah, it's a pretty busy.
Well, I haven't rode my bike in a while,
thoroughfare,
so.
as the numerous deer that have lost their lives along that path.
Yeah.
But I did want to comment on the whole capital improvements movement, because it really was a movement that encompassed at least the last three council. And it just goes to prove that a stitch in time saves millions. If there had been a delay in even 6 months to 9 months, we would have been spending millions more to do the improvements that you've been on top of. And I think the council has been very intent on completing. So thank you for directing us.
When I got here, that was one of my first things I really wanted to get done was getting that document, whether it was followed or not, but at least it gave us that roadmap we needed, you know. I mean, I can't speak prior to what has been done with streets. You know, I was surprised when the city started, I think I looked it up for Councilwoman Haley about when we took the sales tax in 2002 or 2003 for street maintenance. And I'm just a little dumbfounded why not many more streets were done from a street maintenance standpoint that allowed the street to go into a reconstructed stage in that time frame. But regardless, it's fixed now.
Any more comments, questions, council? With our actions tonight, we should be able to say in a year that we've addressed all residential streets within the poor category. So it's a huge,
Hopefully in the
Who-
next 360 days.
huge accomplishment for y'all. So thank you so much for your leadership in making that possible. Mr. Schnall.
This is an action item to consider approving the updated capital improvement plan dated November 12, 2024.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion, council? Ms. Haley?
I move that we adopt the capital improvement plan for 2025.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Haley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. May. Comments, questions, concerns? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. And thank
Thank
you,
you, Mayor
Mr.
Council.
Rapley. Okay, next up, we have announcement, or sorry, we have a discussion on the status of the lawsuit. Our lawyer could not be here with us tonight. And Mr. Schnall?
Yes, I spoke with Mr. Denton this afternoon, and his request is that the report that's on this agenda be deferred to the December council meeting. I believe that is December 10th, when he will be present to provide an update. If anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to address them offline.
Thank you, Mr. Schnall. Okay, we'll proceed on to announcements by mayor and city council members on items of community interest. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that the lighting of the lights for the city of Castle Hills is on Sunday, December 1st, beginning at 4, and with the lights probably coming around 6 or 6:30.
Ms. Haley?
I'd like to thank Ms. Heinrich and Ms. Davis and Chief Ladwig and Lieutenant Davila and Chief Vitaco and some other people who came last Thursday on the 7th. We watched a TML video about excellence in customer service for cities. And I think all of us came away thinking, okay, we do a lot of this pretty well, but there are lots of things that we can get done better. And I think it was an encouragement to see all that and see that, I think they said there were 150 different people on that on that webinar. And so if you figure all the people watching, there were a lot of people watching that and be on the same page about what customer service can be. And one of the slides, it said excellence in customer service isn't just a department responsibility, it's a citywide culture. And I think we're making great strides in having that as our culture. And it's a great time to be here in Castle Hills, and we love it here.
Thank you, Ms. Haley. Mr. May?
Just two items. Because it's still college football season, we are going to have our Historical Society meeting on Sunday, the 24th. That's one weekend after this weekend. We're going to have it at my house. We're going to make sure we have some treats and some refreshments and a little history. And we're going to have to escalate some of our activities because the chapters that need to be written can't just languish. So that's the goal. That's the project. So anyone that's interested out there, I'm going to social media this as well and get our list out. But that is the next Historical Society meeting. The second thing I would note, there's something very big happening this weekend, and it's free to the public. It's the Texas Book Festival. It's the largest book festival in America, over 300 authors. The reason I bring it up is there is a subpart to their outreach, and it's called Reading Rockstars. They send authors of children's books to elementary schools, and there are 2 elementary schools in our jurisdiction. So that is something that will be discussed this weekend with part of their board. So, and it's free. Great opportunity to go up and meet some of these authors and purchase new literature.
Who's that?
It is on the state capitol grounds, all the way down to Congress.
Thank you, Mr. May. Mr. Joyce?
Good.
Ms. Daines?
I'd just like to wish council and staff a happy Thanksgiving. Because we won't see you before then.
Fingers crossed.
Oh.
Wanted to thank everybody that made the trunk or treat possible. It was a lot of people there. It was police, fire, city staff, and it was nice to see everybody come together, enjoy a slightly cooler weathers. So hopefully more of that to ensue during more cooler weather. That being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. May?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. May. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Smith. All in favor? Unanimous. It is 7:30. Meeting is adjourned.